All right. Welcome to the JBJ Management Let's Talk About It podcast. And I am your host, Willis Johnson. And today our special guest is one of the funniest, most sincere men. Now, that's a dichotomy. That'll mess you up. He's one of the funniest and most sincere comedians I have ever met. And I've met them all. I can go through all of them. Steve Harvey, Bernie Mac, D.L. Hughley, Cedric the Entertainer. You name it, I've done them all. But none is as funny and sincere as Don D.C. Curry. Mr. Curry, Mr. Curry, Mr. Curry, glad to have you on the JBJ Management podcast.
Mr. Willis Johnson, man, good to see you. Good to hear you, man. I'm sorry you had those technical difficulties, but you got it worked out.
That's the Curry I know. That's the Curry I know. You know, when people, now that I think about it, one of the most memorable moments, DC, that you and I had was 911.
Yeah, man. I was the first one to inform the people, our listeners. We are under attack.
Oh, interesting, because when we were doing the KKDA morning show, and this was 9/11, DC was on our show every morning, and so DC came in, and he said, and for some reason in the studio, we didn't have any monitors. We didn't have any TVs. We just doing radio. He said, hey, a plane run into a building in New York. We all thought that he was just being D.C. Curry. Like, okay, well, what does that mean? Okay, where we going with that?
Nobody listen to Andrew.
But that's how I knew that the first plane went into the Twin Towers in New York. Man, that's been 9 years ago. Is that?
Oh man,
time?
Can you believe that?
Ooh. So
was that? Wait a minute, man. Was that 9 years ago or 19 years ago?
Good God Almighty!
19 years ago, player.
Yeah, you know my math is a little off.
Yeah,
a little off.
I noticed that when I was on your payroll. This boy can't count.
we were paying. Curry was making more than everybody on this show. What y'all talking about? Well, let's talk about COVID. Let's talk about COVID. How? Because my wife and I went to see D.L. Hughley about 2 months ago in Dallas at the Improv.
Yeah.
And the next week, he in Memphis with COVID.
Well, let's back up. That was Nashville. You talking about where he fell off the stage?
Well, yeah, Nashville is when he had COVID, right?
Well, he says he had COVID. But it looked very much like Johnny Walker Black to me. You know, COVID getting blamed for a lot of things. Have you ever seen COVID knock anybody off a stool like DL fell off that stool? I mean, you know, I like scotch myself.
I can't lay claim to whatever happened. I don't know what happened.
Well, he fell off that stool. He went down like Wendy Williams when her prostate gave out a couple years ago on TV.
When her prostate gave out, okay. I hope we're able to get through these next few minutes with Mr. Curtis. He's gonna be on his game today. Listen, so DL was performing. So that's my point. We went to see him. Then the next week in Nashville, he's performing again. Now he got COVID. How has COVID affected the business, the industry that you're in?
For the first time in over 30 years, I was off. I had never been off in 30-something years for 3 weeks. And here comes 2020, and I was off for over 3 months. It was a rude awakening, man. some of the clubs have reopened now. All of my concert dates were postponed, but I imagine it'll be 2 or 3 years before things are back to so-called normal. But I've been performing lately in clubs. I rebooked, taking some shows, and the parameters are only half the capacity is allowed in the building. So with half of the capacity and basically half of the money, you would think that I would only have to do half the work, but it don't work like that. I am working harder now with 150 people than normal. But it's been a rude awakening. It's been a humbling experience, man. A humbling experience. I will say, it seems as though those 150 are the most enthusiastic D.C. Curry, if you will, fans that there could be. And God bless them for coming out under these circumstances. But it's been a humbling experience, brother.
Curious how you handling the microphone, because the night that I went to see DL, he had like 5 people on before him, and they all used the same microphone.
Well, I've had my own microphone for 10 years, so I carry my own microphone, which I have a guy bring out before I actually come on. So that's not a problem. And then I don't have 5 people on my show, just one person in front of me. But I carry my own microphone, and I have it put on before I go up, and I have it removed when I finish. I don't do any merchandising. I virtually cut out pictures. You know, sometimes I'm coming out and somebody will have waited until I came out of the dressing room, which may be an hour. Someone may have waited that long. And if they're fine, I will take a picture with them.
I see some things they change. Listen, as you have aged in this business, so listen, we were just talking about something that occurred 19 years ago, and you were an established star when that occurred. Tell me, as you have aged in this business, how has the business changed, the business of comedy and that industry?
Well, in one aspect, Willis, it's like the more things change, the more things stay the same. And I said that to say, I've always had not a negative outlook on Hollywood, but skepticism. I've always, since we were on the air almost 20 years ago, even back then, they had offered me some parts to put on a dress. And I was like, what? It doesn't make sense to me other than making you bow down, making you conform. So even recently I got an offer and I told them, to me, it's a way to make a black man belittle a black woman. And then the powers that be can say, well, we didn't do it. DC did it and he's black. So I never have, if you got a gay part, what do you want me to play it for? Get a gay man. If you got a black woman part, you got starving black women actresses in Hollywood who are funny. Get one. Why would you want me to put on a dress and be a woman? And you got Lonnie Love and Cheryl Underwood who look just like me in a dress.
See, now, with that said, that takes me back to, and I don't know what year this was, DC. You were on the set of one of the Fridays. I don't know if it was Friday After Next or Next Friday, or I don't remember which one it was, but Terry Crews was in it with, what's my little man name?
Cat Williams.
Cat Williams. And yeah. I remember you had that same philosophy then because Terry Crews was playing that particular guy.
Yeah. And I'm not mad at him, but let me give you a tidbit too. That's just a side note on Terry Crews. God bless him. I consider him my friend. But, when we were doing Friday After Next, Terry Crews was parking our cars. Did you know that?
I don't think I knew that. No, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about a success story. Terry Crews, and I've never heard him tell it, but I'm telling you what I know for a fact. He was parking our cars. He was a valet. And Tiny Lister was acting a fool. So the director goes to get Cube. Cube comes on the set. He wasn't in that particular scene. And he gets on Tiny, and Tiny, pouting and stuff. Ice Cube goes to the parking lot. Terry Crews parking our cars, all them muscles and stuff, in a little tiny shirt. And Ice Cube asked Terry, "Can you act?" And Terry Crews said, "Hell yeah." And that was the beginning of Terry Crews' acting career.
Wow.
They brought him in to replace Tiny.
I never knew that.
Fast forward 15 years ago, and 15 years later, and Terry, he's all up in the game. And I mean, he has totally bought into Hollywood. And you've totally bought into Hollywood when a man on one of the sets or at the banquet feels at ease to grope you. Hello? I mean, I've been in Hollywood quite some time, man, but oh no. and I don't have the muscles that Terry Crews has.
But that ain't gonna happen.
That ain't gonna happen. And if it does happen, trust me, I'm definitely not gonna turn to the woman I'm with and say, "Let's get out of here." I'm gonna tear the place up. You all right, man?
Yeah. I'm having that. On that same set, Friday After Next, I remember you had finished filming, and then we were going to dinner. We were out to dinner, and Ice Cube was there. We were getting ready to have dinner, and he got a call. His wife called him, and he just shot us the deuce. He was out. Hey, man, that's a side of Ice Cube that people, I don't think, saw of what a family man he was. Talk a little bit about your relationship with Ice Cube.
Big time family man. And I spoke to him the other day. I regret the circumstances. My friend John Witherspoon passed away, so I got to speak to Cube at quite a length at the funeral. But he was I tell you one story that kind of capsized it all for me. We used to play basketball. Cube had a full court basketball court at his house. And once a week we would get together. John Witherspoon, myself, some other actors, and we would play basketball at night under the lights. Cube got a fabulous mansion, man. And I was at Cube's on a particular day, and his son, who is acting now and doing a good job, his son came in. This is going to shock you, Willis. His son came in with his hat on backwards. Now, I'm thinking, Ice Cube, the rapper, when I tell you Ice Cube got in that boy's face, and basically the gist of it, I'm paraphrasing, is you don't come in here looking like that.
Wow.
Ice Cube, brother.
All we know is Straight Outta Compton and
Straight Outta Compton and what's the song he made about Shoot the Police?
Right. Well, yeah. We paraphrase. Shoot the right. We paraphrase.
But I said that to say he's a family guy, and not that having your hat on backward is indecent, but I just thought it was indicative that he is aware. And I don't want to expose him, and I don't want to remove his get up, as I think he is more acceptable to him now because he's older. But he realized even way back then, 20-something years ago, man, ain't no business like show business. But in the real world, he's a different guy. Extremely, extremely intelligent.
Clearly, and has, when people talk about crossover, he's definitely crossed over, under, and around. I mean, he's done it all.
He told me in a conversation one day with just he and I, and there was some debate about young black kids and rap music. Ice Cube himself told me, DZ, were it not for young white kids, his record sales would never have been what they are. And he was considered to be militant, radical, pro-black, not anti-white, but pro-black. And the majority of his record sales have been young white folk.
And so when you look at that industry now, let's talk a little bit about DC Curry, a Bishop College student, Bishop College, Dallas, Texas. I don't know if people know that about you, DC.
Well, it's interesting that you would say student and not graduate. But I would have you to know. Yeah, I went to Bishop College and graduated. If you just must expose me, go ahead. I've been enjoying being ignorant all my life.
But you were on the college, the campus at 3837 Simpson Stewart Road, which is now Paul Quinn. You lived in Dallas, Texas.
I lived in what?
In Dallas, Texas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And loved it too.
Now, did you ever think, when you were at Bishop College, that this is where you would be today? How did you get here today? How did this happen? How does DC Curry do movies? How does DC Curry become a traveling comedian on tour? How does that happen?
Well, this is ironic. It's almost like that song that old girl made. How did you get here? You're not supposed to be here. But as fate would have it, I think the stars just lined up for me, man. I did my homework. I would like to make myself believe that I've been blessed with some exceptional talent. If you take it away from the game and just would ask me what I attribute some of my luck to, I would say I've always tried to treat people right, and karma has come back and blessed me. But I would like to think that I got in the game, I understood the game, and I did what I thought had to be done, and I'm all right. Now, a lot of people have come in with different philosophies and so forth who have, quote unquote, passed me up, but God bless them. So I'm not mad. I'm not mad. There are some very famous people who used to open for me. But God bless them. I'm all right.
And going on tour now is still the thing for you. And I don't think people understand, DC, in the comedy industry. I mean, it's like playing golf. This is where you hit the ball. That's where it is. You got to live with that. That's how you earn a living, is how well you can pack a club.
Yeah, and with me, in some cases, there's a conflict because I'm brutally honest, and in some cases, it may have cost me some mass appeal, but I cannot have the voice that I have, being able to address the masses. I cannot have the voice that I have. My conscience will not let me address the plight of my people. Now, that may have cost me. It may cost me in certain situations, but I'm all right. I said on stage last night, I ain't gonna never have no $100 million. You know how I know? Because if I ever get 50 million, I quit. So I'm all right. But I get a death threat every now and then.
So now that you and most comedians try to do, I guess it's, I don't know, current events. I thought Richard Pryor was that guy who did current events, but was prophetic with his thoughts. And as you said, it cost him.
Yeah.
That's some things that he couldn't do. He couldn't do live television because it's just some stuff he was going to say.
Yeah.
With that,
it was presumed he would say some things. However, it's amazing that they give certain people credit for having sense to make the adjustment, and certain people they don't. Now, I've watched the show about the family video show with Bob Saget and what's the other boy that hosted the show? And you see, they give them credit for having enough common sense to make the adjustment when you're in a TV setting. But if you've ever seen them live, you would think this guy is the worst, most vulgar, irrational guy you've ever seen in your life. But they give them credit for having sense enough to make the adjustment. And that's not always available to minorities.
DC, we don't own a lot of our own stuff.
That's true.
If we owned, would we be better? Would we be in better shape? And the fact that we don't own, how do we get to ownership? I mean, owning the TV studio, owning the radio station, owning our own, as opposed to having to count on the man to get us through.
Well, I think that's a work in progress, but you cannot just jump up and own it. So at some point, particularly when we transition from civil rights movement and all that, you got to work up to owning something. You can't just up and say you own it. I got a deal that I signed tomorrow for a television show, and I own the show. I own the show because I put up half of the money, you know. But there was a time when I could not have afforded it. So we as a people, you know, we've never been in a financial position. And so in getting to that point, you know, sometimes you have to work for quote unquote the man. But when you get to a point where you can, then it makes sense. But a lot of times, Willis, I think what happens when certain people are successful and get to a point where they can own and reach back, they're not interested in reaching back. So that's why I give credit to Tyler Perry, you know, because
now I'm told
he doesn't need to still be working. But, from what I hear.
But DC, he put a dress on.
Yeah, I mean, different jokes for different folks now. He put a dress on. And he's not the only one. I mean, I think Chris Rock did. I think Wesley Snipes did. I think Sinbad did at one point. I think Chris Rock did. But I'm just speaking on behalf of DC.
It is amazing how I remember sitting at Papa Do's in Dallas on Oak Lawn with Al Wash and Tyler Perry probably 20 plus years ago.
Wow.
And nobody knew who the hell Tyler Perry was.
Wow.
And now the rest is history. And you can go through a number of people like that. As you talked about Terry Crews. There was another comedian in the first Friday.
Chris Tucker?
Nobody ever heard of Chris Tucker.
No. He owes me $2 to this day. I told him about it a couple of months ago. I loaned him $2 for gas to get home. Nobody wanted to take him home from the club. And he didn't have money to give anybody gas money. I gave Sherman Golden $2 to take the boy home. And I played in his celebrity golf tournament the other day, and he still refused to give me my $2. With interest now, I'm sure it's up to about 25 or
30. What's next for DC Curry? Where do you go from here? What's next for DC Curry?
Well, they finally came, and I got a television show, and we'll see what happens. I'm a farmer. Did you know that by trade? In fact, I got new little pigs this morning, man.
Wait.
And they look just like my brother, one of my brothers. But I'm away from home a lot, so I don't know who the father is, but
So you're a farmer, a comedian, and now a new television show.
And now a grandfather. Well, the new television show, yeah. And it's called Nappy Valley, Nappi. And, I live on a farm. I bought another farm. And this show is about me making the farm. And it was a good time. COVID-19 and a lot of broke comedians hang around me, and they needed jobs. So I hired them to work on my farm. And when I tell you they don't know nothing, they don't know nothing. But I'm giving back.
I would love to see that labor force on your farm who's working on that farm. Now that would be funny.
You're gonna see it. We started filming at the end of the month. It's called Nappy Valley, Nappi. I'll be making wine, raising my own fruit.
You making your own wine? That could be dangerous.
Oh yeah, I've always made my own wine.
Legally?
I've never looked into the legality of it, Willis. I'm not a lawyer.
I want y'all to know that's my friend, man. Don DC Curry. You know him as Uncle Elroy and a whole bunch of other stuff. He's got a new TV show coming up, and he's a father.
Hey man, I want you to be my special guest on one of the episodes. I've had several celebrities down and shot some pre-footage. I had Michael Collier down, and he thinks he's real important. He's riding around on my four-wheelers in a suit and tie.
I would love. Is it in Georgia?
It's in Georgia, Hogansville, Georgia.
I would love to come down and hang out. Just let me know when. I'm there.
Oh, we're doing that.
All right, y'all give it up. That's Uncle L.
Let me ask you one more thing. It's amazing that you would put 9/11 with regards to you and my experiences. You put that above Jim Brown.
I do have to. So, no, really, that story goes more to not necessarily DC Curry. Well, it was both of y'all there. So Spud Webb went home.
Where went home?
And that's the
and Jim Brown some money. I said, oh Lord.
So we were playing golf together. It was Jim Brown, DC Curry, myself, and Spud Webb. And Jim Brown was such a military kind of guy with great.
Does that mean the same thing as asshole? But yeah, go ahead.
He's the greatest running back in the history of the game. I don't think you can call Jim Brown that.
Oh, he was the greatest running back now.
But
he was also.
I see now we're going to get sued. So DC is a pretty good golfer. But Jim Brown's an excellent golfer. And if I remember that day, he shot a 69 with somebody else's clubs and never hit a driver. But when he got ready to putt, he didn't want to see any of us. So we all lined up behind him in a line. And if he saw
off the green.
Right.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. And then when he made the putt, the old dog gonna tell me get his ball out the hole because he couldn't bend his old ass over and pick up his ball. I said, I wish I would. I wish I would bend over and get your ball after you made me get off the green.
That's all true story. That's all. And in the middle of that, there was a storm that came up and lightning hit.
Lightning, man.
They called us in. They said, you got to come in. Jim Brown, like, there you go. Man, hit the ball. Jim Brown. It was quite an experience to play with.
And us being overwhelmed by the celebrity of the greatest running back of all time.
Right.
We kept playing.
We hit the ball.
It's thundering and lightning. We kept playing like some fools.
Until they actually got us off the course. And then we had to have breakfast.
Yeah. It was an experience to remember.
And that's when, for somehow or another, the word clown came out.
Jim Brown, man.
So we're talking about who are comedians and who are actors. And Jim Brown looks at D.C. Curry and says, hey, you're not an actor. You're a clown. What? And your response was, D.C.?
Well, he mentioned, what's the boy with the orange hair in Las Vegas?
Oh, that came off the show with the, J-Lo was on the show. Y'all,
yeah,
way back in the day, man.
So he mentioned him as being so prosperous. And I said, well, that's just not what I do. And he said, well, maybe you should try it because that boy has made so much money. I said, well, that don't mean he's the greatest. You are the greatest running back in the history of football, but your damn sure wasn't the highest paid. And it went downhill from there.
It did. It got a little icy at that point. And yeah, we had to end breakfast. That was not. Those are some of the stories that we've had over the years. Me and D.C. Curry. That's my guy. Congratulations on your new TV show. Let me know when I'm going to be on it.
Thank you, man. I'm going to be in touch. I'm definitely going to let you know, man. That'll be the highlight of the whole reel, man.
Yeah, nobody will know me, but I'll make it up. DC, thanks for
they'll know you.
I appreciate you, man.
One love, man. Thank you, man.
All right. That's Don DC.
God bless you. God bless America. God bless all of the athletes and the NBA people that are speaking up. I'm sorry the NBA got shut down, but if you heard Chaka Khan sing the national anthem at the All-Star game last year, you knew it was coming.
And we're out. That's the JBJ podcast. Let's talk about it.